Well, it's back again. International Podcast Day. The day that we kind of sit back and remember why we do this, why we're here, and why we come at you every week telling you these amazing stories about the automotive industry. Like AutoLooks says, we dive deep into the untold stories from the automotive industry. And that's why AutoLooks is here. It's not just to expand your knowledge about the auto industry, it's to make you aware about all these other tiny little things that work together to make this machine run properly. It all goes together. And without the AutoLooks podcast, some pieces of it would be missing. So today, we're going to be releasing a special episode. Episode 268. You're going to have to wait for until next week. Because this week, AutoLooks is going all in on International Podcast Day, releasing our special about the AutoLooks Podcast. Welcome back to the AutoLooks Podcast. I'm your host, as always, the doctor to the automotive industry, Mr. Everett J, coming to you from my website at AutoLooks.net. Yeah, I started that website all the way back in 2008 to bring my automotive knowledge to the world. But why did I start? Well, a little history lesson about the AutoLooks website and myself is I've been in the cars for a long time, since I was 4 years old. Well, that's pretty close to 4 decades later. I've gotten to know the automobile industry. I used to love just looking at cars, getting cars as Hot Wheels, like all of us who love automobiles. And as I talked about my podcast, Our Automotive Love Affair, it explained in that episode how my dad essentially helped get me into cars. And then my brother brought home a poster of a Lamborghini Countach, and I just fell in love. I never knew I liked them so much until that day when I saw something amazing. But for myself, I always thought my life was going to be in the automotive design world. Ever since grade 5, about 10 years old, I got into designing my own cars. Yeah, of course, I started out, side view designs. But eventually, self-taught, I got into doing 3D designs because I wanted to showcase more of it. And people kept asking me, well, you just do sides. Like, I want to see the whole car. So I sat back, I took some time, and I redesigned my favorite car. Greatest design that you can find on my website. My Slicer. Amazingly cool car. It's been redesigned multiple times, and actually the newest generation of it was designed back in 2015, and it's not even available on our website. Reason for that, it hasn't been copywritten. Every single thing that's on the website is legally copywritten and owned by myself and is in a safe place. So for the longest time, I thought I was going to do automotive design. And, I always wanted to be a race car driver. My dad didn't have the money to get me into racing. And in my home city, there's no arrive and drive. Your dad had to put out all of this money to get you into racing. If they couldn't afford it, that was it. You couldn't do it. And he wasn't going to take that leap. He knew I would be right into it. And I'd do amazing things. But I just never got my chance. Years later, I would take my chance when our home go-kart track created their own arrive and drive service. Where I could show up and ride, around these essentially giant bumper cars on the track, but I'm still getting up to about 65, 70 kilometers an hour. Pretty fast. I got 4th overall my first year, but 2 of the drivers that were part of my league that I raced in with the Arrive and Drive were actually full-time senior karters from the car club who were just doing this for extra practice. So all in all, out of all the standard rookies that were there, I got 2nd, and I just got my 2nd place at the end of the year. I knew I could do it. I even set a lap record. Has literally stayed within the top 10 for nearly 20 years now. So in the back of my head, I'm wondering to myself, why didn't I go after racing? My original plan was to leave high school, move out to Quebec, and go to one of the best racing schools. Try and make my way in there. Push myself, get my licensing, and see if I can find somebody that's willing to sponsor me. Well, my family kind of talked me out of that, and they thought designing was a lot better solution for me. Unfortunately, they all told me to go to design, so I went to the closest automotive design school in my province, well, in the country. So in Canada, that's Georgian College in Barrie, Ontario. But it's an automotive product design course. It's not made for designing vehicles like the Academy of Art and Design in San Francisco. Now, I wanted to go there, but it's way too expensive for me, and I couldn't afford it. Even though I know it will only be a 2-year program, and I'm almost guaranteed to get a job in the automotive industry afterwards, I couldn't do it. I didn't have the money. I set myself back. So I didn't go after it. I went to do automotive products design parts. Yeah, fun. Great. Not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to open my own business. So I left, went into a business course, graduated with honors, got out into the real world and realized banks don't like me. No. They thought I was crazy with my idea. Like, nobody's going to work 6 days a week at their own business for up to 10 hours a day. I'm like, yeah, if you want to get it off the ground, you gotta. What happens if you're sick? Well, guess I'm closed for a day. Well, then you won't be making any money. Well, it's called the internet. I can advertise. This is around the time that MySpace was still kicking around and social media was starting to come out. I could build a following on MSN. They didn't like me. They didn't want to give me the money. Went to the city. They didn't want to give me the money. Nobody did. So I had to fall back. And with that, I felt beaten. But when I was in college for business, I was talking to my best friend at the time, and I was telling him about these horrible designs, especially at that point in time, the 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and how it was but ugly. How can they allow something like that onto the road? He says, dude, I like cars, and I don't mind talking about cars with you, but like, if you want to tell people that it's a bad design, just get out there and tell them. Light bulb went off my head, and I decided to start writing. I created my first article about the 2005 Jeep Grand Cherokee while I was down south working for my summer job. I did a couple other articles after that, but I wrote them all up by hand, and then I had to type them out on a computer. Well, let's just say I was a little bit lazy, and I thought that was way too much work. I gotta do that, I gotta do that. I wasn't good at HTML, I wasn't good at computer programming, so I couldn't get anything online. So it kind of bummed me out, and I kind of fell out of love with that idea. I still was on trying to make my own shop, try to create my own designs. And after college, I tried to go after it. But after not being able to get a job, spending the first year outside of college, getting the worst jobs possible with the minuscule amount of pay, I realized that the world really worked against me. And no matter what I did, it was like I was being shut down everywhere. Well, things had to change. Eventually they did. I decided to stay in my home city because I was kind of on and off with dating a girl at that time. Things didn't work out, so I stayed. And I got a decent job, which I thought would turn into a bigger job. And then I met my wife. Became my girlfriend for a few years, but I met her. She had dreams and ambitions too, and wanted to start her own business. And a friend of hers had built this website. Easy block-style website. You can literally just throw together. Anybody can do it. You don't need to know full coding or anything. It was Weebly. And I decided on my old previous websites, I'm going to get back into writing. I'm going to start rating cars. I started rating cars about 2 years before I built my first website on Weebly, and I had my end of the year review. Besides that, the only other thing on my website, which was actually through Angel Fire back in the day, was essentially my giant automotive list and links to automotive car companies from around the globe. Like I said in the beginning of this, go to the AutoLooks.net website, click the corporate links at the top of the page, big or small, we have them all, car companies from around the globe, all available on one central location. I've been doing that since 2008, and from that, my end of the year started coming out, and I started rating vehicles. And with rating vehicles, I started to create my own rating system to allow you, the viewers, to start rating vehicles. And from there, I started writing about vehicles again. I got back into my passion, not doing full-scale articles, but doing littler ones throughout the year. I threw them together, I put them up there. I was getting myself out there, but I didn't know my website. It'd be years before I finally figured out SEO to properly utilize my website. Even to this day, it's not properly utilized, but it's a lot better than it was 8 years ago when I started this whole journey about rebuilding my page. 8 years ago. The funny thing about that, when I started rebuilding my website, I started asking myself, what should I do? I'm writing these articles, and it doesn't seem like anybody cares. My end of the year review, not really care. Nobody's clicking on any of my stuff. What should I do? I need a new format to get to the automotive world. A coworker at the time had told me about his cousin, who started his own podcast. About 8 months later, he got picked up by a radio station in the small town he lived in, and has been working radio ever since. I'm like, podcast? He's like, yeah, like those episodes and things you do online. I'm like, So I looked into it. And I said to myself, well, I love talking. And I love talking about something that I enjoy. I love researching the automotive world. And I like to spread that knowledge with everyone. Instead of sitting down and having to write this entire article and go over it and understand it, I can do what I was told I was great at doing my whole life. See, ever since you had to start doing speeches for myself in grade 2 when I was 7 years old. That year, no. Grade 2, I wasn't told I was a good public speaker. I was loud enough and everybody heard me, but my speech sucked, okay? It literally was only a few words, and it was the stupidest thing ever. I can literally recite it right now. Over 30 years later, it was that dumb. But in grade 3, I had to do it again. This time, we had to give our speech to the teacher. She had to approve it, and I had to get in front of the class, and it had to run at least 3 to 5 minutes. Well, I was going to do it on something I love, cars. So I did it. And my passion came through when I did it. Now, when I first started doing speeches in front of the class, I wrote out this entire paragraph. After that, I started learning an easier way to do it. I had tons of knowledge in my head to write all these things out. But the easiest way to talk is to put it in point form and expand upon it, just like the teachers do when they write something on the board and then they talk about it. So that's what I started doing. By the time I hit grade 5, all my speeches came out in point form. I would get in front of the class and I knew roughly how many points it would take me to get to that time frame. I hated doing them because I was the kid that was bullied and pushed around in school. I was picked on. Kids tried to pick fights with me. Never lost one. I had one draw. Never lost a fight, but I was that kid that everyone picked on. Hell, I was picked on this past season at my son's go-karting at the track by somebody who thinks they're way better than everyone else. It's still happening today. So I hated getting up in front of the class and talking with everybody. But you know what? I was good at it. I was good at speaking to people. I was good at showing my passion and what I love to people. Funny thing is when I was in grade 9, a teacher gave us a writing assignment. It has to be so many pages, but you can write about anything that you want within reason, okay? Just write an article with passion behind it. So I wrote one about how the government underfunds our highway systems in Northern Ontario. You've probably heard this podcast multiple times from myself. And I talked about four-laning the Trans-Canada Highway. This is back in the 90s when there was still a lot of areas out east and out west that weren't four-laned. And I wrote the whole thing and how it can help our economy and build tourism across this country the same way the interstates did to the United States. It was so good, my teacher actually asked me to join the newspaper. For myself, I wouldn't do that. I'm like, I don't want to write for the newspaper. I hate writing. I'm like, but you're really good at it. I'm like, yeah, well, I just wrote what I liked. Yeah, but you're good at it, right? You write stuff like that. I'm like, if I could write an article that I like, yeah, but I'm not going to write something I don't want to. But they never agreed to that, so I never joined. So that, along with my public speaking, I just knew podcasting would be it for me. Talking and getting my voice heard. I get it. To this very day, after 7 years, I still haven't blown up like some of the other big names out there. I get it. People like Joe Rogan gets tons of hits on his podcast. People love it. But he's a celebrity to begin with. I'm not. But over my 7 years, I have built this podcast up. I haven't taken any handouts. I do all of the work myself, including uploading these, creating the images, editing them, adding music. Every single thing is done by one person, myself. Yes, AutoLooks is a one-man show. So if you want to badmouth it, go ahead and badmouth it. But just remember, my comeback to everyone who badmouths it is, well, why don't you do it? Anybody could do it better if you throw tons and tons of money at it. Trust me, I see that when I go to a racetrack with my son. We don't throw tons of money at his cart, and he's an amazing driver, and he gets up there with the kids whose parents throw tons of money at it. Anybody can do it. Sure, you can create one and make it bigger than mine in just a matter of time, but to build mine the way I've done it takes a lot of hard work. Giving up Sunday nights, Monday nights, Tuesday nights, like pretty much Sunday to Thursday night, and mornings at 5 a.m., Monday to Friday. I put in hours, between 12 and 20 hours a week of my own personal time that I don't get paid for. I pour my heart and soul into the AutoLooks.net empire. The podcast isn't just about the information that I know or the information that's attainable to myself, about getting all of this information about the automotive industry and sharing my knowledge with you. It's about me. The AutoLooks website and the AutoLooks podcast is Everett J. My personality, if you ever meet me on the street, is completely different than what you hear right now. Even my wife says I sound completely different when I'm talking to anyone on a podcast than when I'm actually talking to people in real life. I'm a different person. It's like my brain, the whole other side opens up and I'm just happy and great. I drag my ass into my office to make a podcast, but when I'm sitting here talking, it's the happiest place in the world for me. The AutoLooks podcast was originally built as an extension of the AutoLooks website to help bring people to the website. Today, the podcast sustains itself on its own. It's not about the bringing people to the website. The podcast is about just that, the podcast. Sure, some people may stop by my website and check out some of my stuff, find some of those websites they're looking for, or see the cars that we talk about in any of our podcasts. But in all reality, I get more people listening to my voice every single week than I do on hit rates on my website. And yes, to this very day, I haven't made a ton of money doing this. I literally work a full-time job where I work 45 hours a week and then still manage to put 12 to 20 more hours of my own work in, while also spending time with my wife, while also spending time with my kids, while fixing my car, while bringing my son to the track, fixing a go-kart, and getting in at least once a week 30 to 60 minutes of maybe GTA 5 to unwind. That is Everett J. Answer the original question, what is the AutoLooks Podcast? It's just that. It's the AutoLooks Podcast. If you want to call it something else, you can call it the Everett Podcast, because that's essentially what it is. It's just Everett J and the podcast. So I hope you go out there and listen to some other podcasts today. Not just mine. You can go back and listen to a whole stream of mine, some of the episodes I've talked about during this, but I want to get you out there. I'm part of the Podcast Academy. I've been part of the AMBIES, literally the International Awards for Podcasting, the one that's on the global scale, the same as the Golden Globes, the Oscars. I've been part of that, and I'm part of it every year. So yeah, I may seem small to a lot of people out there, and it may seem crazy that I spend all this time and don't get anything out of it. But in all reality, I do. It makes me happy, and I love talking to my audience. So if you like this podcast, please like, share, or comment about it on any of the major social feeds or streaming sites that you found the AutoLooks Podcast on. Go and tell your friends about it. Listen to some of our past episodes. Go to the website, find some of the car companies, and tell them who really is Everett J. Who is the mastermind behind the AutoLooks empire? None other than just one person, Mr. Everett J. And like I said, after that, stop by the website, read some of the reviews, check out some of the ratings, go to the Corporate Links website page. Big or small, we have them all. Car companies from around the globe. If we don't have it, it's coming soon, because we got a list of a few extras we're going to be adding on to the website within the next few months when we get some time to do it. We got a lot of rating to do. We got over 600 cars to finalize the ratings before the end of the year review comes out in January of 2026. So stay tuned and wait for that. And after you've done this podcast, go out and find some more. You want to hear some better podcasts or some more interesting ones? Just actually comment at the bottom of it. Ask me what other podcasts I've listened to. I've heard tons and tons of them through the Podcast Academy, and I've heard tons of them that have come through the AMBIES. I've listened to a lot of other people's podcasts, not just about automotive world, business, children's shows, sports, and stories. They're all out there, and they're all waiting for you. And on International Podcast Day, thank your favorite podcaster for being there, for putting in those hours and giving you that little bit of entertainment that you look forward to every day. I'm Everett J, and for myself, my website, and the Ecom Entertainment Group, strap yourself in for this one fun, wild ride that the AutoLooks Podcast is going to take you on.